Hello and welcome to a Godot Quick Tips video. These are videos where I share tips and tricks to hopefully make your own game creation a little easier. This time we'll be taking a look at constants, name prefixing and serialization. If you're not familiar with constants, I suggest you have a read up on them, but briefly, unlike variables, as the name suggests, they are constant. Their values cannot be changed once defined and assigned to. So of course, constants have many uses, but primarily they are good for storing data or values. They could be accessed across various parts of your code without requiring a reference to an object that contains them. If you like your static typing, you may well be familiar with issues regarding circular references when defining a class. Essentially, you can have a case where class A refers to class B, which refers back to class A, and so the parser can't resolve which class should be passed first. If you're wanting to share your constants between classes, this can be an annoying problem. To get around this kind of situation and avoid unnecessary class referencing, we can dump all of our constants and enums, if you have them, into a single class that can be referenced from anywhere. You simply create a script, give it a class name of constants, and define them in there. Because they are constant, they don't need a reference to an object, and so can be simply called via the class name, in this case constants dot whatever your constant's name is. This constants class doesn't refer to any other class or object, and so we'll sidestep the issue of circular references. See, no circles, just straight lines. So this nicely moves us into name prefixes. This is a very individual thing and very much stylistic, but using prefixes for variable names can be useful in organizing your code and making it more readable. It also plays a part in the serialization portion of this video, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Whether you use camel or snake case or any other animal's case, it doesn't matter. You can use this somehow. So here are some ways you can prefix your code. In the case of constants we just discussed, you saw that they were prefixed like so. This also helps with code complete as you essentially filter via the prefix. Member variables, those which have the scope of the current object and are part of its class, can be written as so. This way, when you define local variables in the object's functions, it makes it quickly recognizable that the variable is local to the function and not in fact the object. This saves unnecessary scrolling or doubt as to the scope of your variable. Another example would be this for exports. Variables that are altered via the engine's inspector. Typically, if it's an export, it won't be altered at runtime in code, which is why I prefix them in this way to differentiate them from a member variable. Of course, this isn't like a hard and fast rule about exports, this is just typically how I use exports. So now we have that out of the way, how does it relate to serialization? Well, we want to save data in our games, whether it be progress or settings. Being the lazy sod I am, I will try to automate or reduce manual work of anything as much as possible. By having all members that are created in a class prefixed with an m underscore, like so, tells me it is a variable from a class I've created and not a native Godot engine one. This now means if I want to save all the member variables to a dictionary and then to disk, I can have a single function like so that iterates through all the object's properties and filters based on the member name prefix. Here you can even see the reverse, restoring the data from a dictionary to an object. This settings class only derives from reference, so there are no other member variables. But if you derive from classes such as spatials or areas, etc., you won't want all of their base variables saved, as they probably won't be important for the data that you are serializing. Or at the very least, they could be serialized under another name more specific for the use case, i.e. the player's position instead of origin. A player class could well derive from a class such as spatial or kinematic body, and you want to keep the health, lives, or whatever in this class. So filtering by your prefix member variables enables this to not be a ball ache, requiring you to write specific functions for every class's serialization. Of course, this really can't be kept general for every use case and codebase. I know this very well from experience, but when creating classes that only contain pure data variables, it makes saving a breeze. How you design your code can determine how much work you need to do when it comes to serializing your game's data. So that is all for this one. I hope this video was of use. If there's anything you have difficulty with in coding your games, drop it in the comments and I may well have a look. If you want some free games to play made using Godot, I've left a link in the description. Other than that, take care and hopefully see you next time.